Yo, Remy here. As usual, I'm fashionably late to these topics, but I wanna talk about them anyway. In this video, I'm gonna go over Duet going the no gacha route, Augusta, the latest unit released in Wuthering Waves, and Hoyo's newest upcoming game, Honkai Nexus Anima. If you wanna see more of my apps, consider subscribing, I highly appreciate it. Now let's begin. Duet It's another upcoming action RPG gacha game, or so we thought. Apparently, the game is removing the gacha aspects, so it's just an action RPG now. The way you'd get the characters and weapons now would be simply by playing the game and grinding for them. I heard they're also removing the stamina system, so you can probably farm for as much as you want, whenever you want. Maybe there still is a gacha for something, I haven't heard anything about that. But the point is, it's deviating from the usual systems that we see in the currently big gachas like Hoyo games and Wuthering Waves. Now, there's absolutely zero argument that this is a super player-friendly system to have, since it eliminates things like pressure of spending money to get characters, and things like logging in daily to not waste any stamina. But I do still have some concerns about it. Mainly how it determines future games going forward. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I like to believe that when other developers are trying to make a new game, they'll take reference of what's currently successful and either merely copy it or improve upon it. For a super simple example, look at how Wuthering Waves took a lot of inspiration from Genshin. I promise this is not a comparison waves video, due posting one game or the other. I'm just using them as examples and nothing more than that. They both are open world anime style action RPG with gacha in them. But Wuthering Waves not only simply copied Genshin, they also improved on certain things like the weapon banner system by completely removing a lot of the RNG aspects in it. This is definitely good, right? But if we wanted a more player-friendly gacha system, why have a weapon banner to begin with? Why did they copy Genshin's gacha system instead of something like Arknights or Blue Archive, where you only had to pull for characters? Even if we only want to look at the scope of their character banner system, why did they choose to copy Genshin's system? In Arknights and Blue Archive, newly released units are treated somewhat differently. In all these 4 games, there are units that you can only obtain by rolling on their specific banners in certain times, usually referred to as limited banners. But in Arknights and Blue Archive, the majority of the roster are, in Genshin terms, put into the standard banner. In other words, you don't need to wait for specific banners to come for you to get them. If there's a previously released unit that you'd like to get, there is a chance for you to lose the 50-50 to them. For example, imagine you're trying to pull Saridra, but you lost the 50-50 to Fainon, or Robin, or Sparkle, instead of someone like Clara, or Bronya, or Japard. That's basically how the gacha system is in Arknights and Blue Archive. But instead, they copied Genshin's system where almost every released unit is a limited unit. And I'm sure it's not just Wuthering Waves that have this gacha system, but the point is that a lot of games are copying Genshin's system because it is the more successful one. At least that's how I see it. Going back to Duet, I'm excited for their player-friendly system. I've been asking for something like this for a very long time, but I'm afraid that if they're not as successful as the big titles, future devs just won't reference them when making their own games. Or worse, if they do copy but then fail, they resort to a much worse monetization system. I'm not asking for Duet to become the predatory demons as the top titles, but I'm just hoping that it at least doesn't fail. Cause if it does, then it just pushes the narrative that player-friendly systems just lead to failure, and that devs should continue copying whatever garbage system that Hoyo pushes out. I personally won't be playing Duet because I'm not exactly interested in it, despite the player-friendly system that I've been asking for. There's nothing in the game that actually piqued my interest. But I still hope for the best for the game so that it can help pave the way for better games in the future. Now, some of you might call me a hypocrite for saying that I love the system but then not play the game in an effort to support it or whatever. Well, first of all, just because it has a system that I like doesn't mean I have to play the game. Secondly, simply having a good grinding system isn't enough for me to wanna play the game. And finally, it's because I already play a game with an infinite grind system, and it's the game that you're watching right now. Like, come on, is it too much for me to ask for a Rarity 8 attack boost burst talisman with double 1-slot armor decoration slots? Heck, I'll even take a guard, or guard up, or artillery, or... Speaking of being a hypocrite, now I want to talk about Augusta, the latest released unit in Wuthering Waves as of making this video. This one is probably a bit nitpicky on my end, but it's no different than what I saw last time something like this happened, so I'm gonna talk about it. Frankly speaking, I don't know where Augusta places in the meta in Wuthering Waves, nor do I actually care about it. My main concern is a part of her ability. Augusta has this cool ultimate where she pulls out a big sword and then she does a bunch of very cool slashes. The unique thing about this ability is that when she is in this stance, she stops the time. And apparently, this has fourth wall breaking interactions like stopping the literal timer count. Now, the thing about this from the little that I've been hearing is that she's not exactly that busted despite this ability, and that it practically deals similar damage per second compared to the other units. It's no different than anyone else's ultimate being a time stop cutscene, no big deal. On the other hand, when Cashris came out, there were a lot of people discussing how her having a global passive is literally broken for the game and that it sets a bad precedent going forward. Despite what she brings is a mere revival. Which, in practice, if you practice passive, you're probably already doing something wrong to begin with anyway. Augusta came out with a fourth wall breaking ability, nobody bats an eye. Cashris came out with a mere quality of life ability, everyone says it's bad. That doesn't seem fair. I'm not asking for everyone to suddenly doom post Wuthering Waves, but I do find it hypocritical that they'd complain about one game but not the other. Even if you want to say that, oh, the time stop isn't that broken because her damage isn't that different anyway. So is the revive! You barely see revives being used in practical scenarios, yet people whine about it being a passive. And even if we want to talk about setting a bad precedent, what if they actually release a unit who can stop the timer but deals significantly more damage than the rest of the roster? What if the time stop doesn't stop your attacks from happening? What if future units would just be balanced at who can stop the timer? What if the endgame is balanced around the time stop mechanic? What if this? What if that? Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there a whole meta shift in PGR, aka Kuro's other game, about units being able to stop the timer in their ultimates, being so-called new generation DPS or something like that? Like, be for real, man, it just looks like nothing more than agenda pushing. And frankly speaking, I do know why people only doom posted Cashris but not Augusta, because it was the popular thing to do. It was trendy to talk about it, it probably farms interactions in Twitter or something, so a lot of people did it. But I'm sure that a lot of people talking about it don't actually care. And it's fine, maybe you just wanted to hop in the conversation, who cares? But why did it have to be this big hoopla of an issue? And even then, why is it only aimed at one game when it's happening somewhere else again, in a popular game too at that? And this one even has a track record of how it went. Once again, I'm not asking anyone to suddenly do post one game or the other, or any game at all. I just don't really like how the criticism seems hypocritical. Also, you can't call me a Kurobot or Hoyushio. I literally play both Wuthering Waves on Honkai Star Rail. I'm consuming all these slobs, and neither of these are my main games anyway. My main game is the superior game of all time, and it's above all these gacha slobs. Monster. Lastly, I wanna talk about Hoyo's newest upcoming game, Honkai Nexus Anima. When I first saw the teaser for the game, I was so hopeful that it was gonna be the next generation Hoyo polished Pokemon game. It'd be an anime style open world where you can run around the map, catch monsters and whatever, and then use them in combat. Now I'm not sure if they showed any catching monsters video or something, but I do remember that they did show the combat, and it's some sort of an auto chess gameplay, which, I'm gonna be real, was disappointing. I was hoping that it'd be either turn-based like the original Pokemon, or maybe more akin to something like Legends Arceus or ZA. Maybe I'm underplaying it too much considering it's still in early development, but regardless, a lot of my hype died down when I saw the trailers that they posted. I really wanted this game to be the Hoyo polished Pokemon game, mainly for two reasons. The first reason is that I wanted a Pokemon game that doesn't look like garbage. Game Freak has been cutting corners in the latest Pokemon games, and frankly speaking, I hate it. Even if I turn a blind eye to the ugly environment that they've been making, the Pokemon design itself has been atrocious lately. Like when I first saw the starters of Scarlet and Violet, I was so happy to see Fuecoco. I've always been the fire type guy, I love dinosaurs, and it looked hella adorable. But then when the game is released, I see its evolution line and it looked horrendously god-awful. I hated the designs of its evolution line. It's not about it being quadrupedal or bipedal, it just looks awful. And why does it have a microphone when it attacks? It's so bad. I don't know who and or why they greenlit this garbage design choices. Anyway, moving on to the second reason, I wanted to see a war between Hoyo and Game Freak. A lot of people like to pit Hoyo and Kuro together. Honestly, I don't even know if Kuro is as big as Hoyo, but Hoyo and Game Freak, now those are the two devs who have games with large audience. They both can send out slop and people would still eat it up, and if either side makes a mistake, you know they'll have their massive white knights defending them. Imagine Hoyo making an actually polished Pokemon game, and then the majority of the Pokemon fans would just play that game instead of Pokemon, because not only that it looks better, but it's probably also free, and it would probably also be available on phones. People would not only not have to buy the game, but they also wouldn't have to buy a console. And then imagine if it sucks all the players away from the original Pokemon. Then Game Freak would either have to actually make Pokemon great again, or they'll probably just sue Hoyo. Either way, I would have loved to see that bloodshed. But alas, we got nothing more than yet another Hoyo slop. And that's about it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment down your thoughts, feedbacks are greatly appreciated, and I'll be reading through them. If you want to see more of me, consider hitting the subscribe button, it's free. I'll be doing more of these Yap videos in the future. Now take a sip of water and have a good day.